How many of you have used a food dehydrator?
Yes, I have used a food dehydrator to dry my filament. However, there's a lot of caveats. This style of food dehydrator is a plug-and-play style. You plug it in, it turns on, there's no temperature control, there's no humidity monitoring, it is on or it is off, and that is problematic when you are trying to dry your filament. So first off, this Presto, I looked it up, this Presto dehydrator, this vertical dehydrator, it runs consistently around 165 degrees Fahrenheit, which translates to about 74 degrees centigrade. PLA, it's recommended to dry it somewhere between 45 and 50 degrees centigrade. So that's a huge, huge difference. So if you forget that you are drying your PLA in this for too long, you will have problems with that PLA being malformed and most likely not be usable. So what can we do to help prevent that besides running up and checking it every so often? Well, you can do something like my partner did, and that is add a thermostat. This thermostat he wired up, and I do not recommend this unless you are familiar with wiring. I would not attempt this myself, but this particular thermostat will actually control the entire machine. It will cycle on and off thanks to this probe being inserted inside and monitoring the internal temperature. So once it hits a certain temperature, it will shut off on its own, and once it cools off, it will turn back on. So it's constantly cycling through so that your PLA or whatever filament you are doing doesn't get too hot. Another thing that you can do if you don't want to mess with wiring is to get some probes. This happens to be a fancy probe. This is a Bluetooth probe that connects to my phone via the GoV app, not a sponsor, just happens to be a good product that I like. This will monitor both the temperature and the humidity inside wherever you put it. I keep some in my greenhouse. We keep them near our faucets when it freezes, just to monitor things. So when you have this inside, you can actually set it to alarm once it hits a certain temperature, so you can run up and be the thermostat and unplug it and let it cool off so that you can wait for it to plug it back in and continue that cycle. The other thing that this is helpful for is the humidity, because as your filament heats up, it's going to release that moisture, causing the internal humidity to go up, and then it'll redissipate back down once it's evaporated with the heat. So that'll give you at least a better idea of how long your filament needs to stay in so that you're not doing a whole lot of guesswork. One thing that I do want to stress is that do not leave your spools in at full blast for too long. Even your filaments that are designed to go hotter, because you're not just worried about the filament. This is ASA. It was perfectly fine at that higher temperature. The filament is fine. Obviously, the spool wasn't intended to get that hot. I need to respool this one, but I like to have it as a visual aid. Another thing you will notice on this particular style, where does the spool go? So if you're going to use a vertical style like this one, you will have to make a collar or a cowl of some sort. My husband made this one years ago now, but now it's big enough for 2 spools. We can throw our probe in the middle, and ta-da, filament dryer. Give 3D for me a follow. She asks good questions. She is on a fantastic journey in her 3D print life, and she makes some really cute stuff.